today we're talking about my wedding photography kit as well as my hybrid coverage gear for wedding. This month, I'm doing 30 videos on wedding photography in 30 days, from the best lenses for weddings to Facebook and Instagram ad templates, email scripts, pricing documents, attracting more followers, off-camera flash, and generating more inquiries. And above all else, how to make your business even more successful in an incredibly challenging year. So join me every single day this month for a brand new video. Welcome back to the studio. 30 videos, 30 days. Yesterday, you got LUTs, which are presets for video, over on the member site. Tomorrow, you'll actually be getting a new preset pack for Lightroom. So if you're a photographer, you're probably a photographer. If you click this video and you're not a photographer, that's a bit weird. But know that over on the member site, there is a new preset pack going up tomorrow that you'll have access to. Members get access to all of my presets. There's a lot of them now, as well as all of my other courses, every single course that I've ever made, as well as all of the other daily content that's coming out as part of these 30 days. So tomorrow, presets, and then following 2 days, so on the 19th, we will be doing a live Q&A. So if you're a member, you get access to that live Q&A. So show up with a couple of questions and I will get to as many of them as I can. And I have no idea how long it's going to end up being, but as long as you have questions, I'm happy to hang out and answer those questions. Today, my kit for weddings. As you can see, it's not really that big. This year is a little bit different than normal years. Typically what you would see on here as well is a 70 to 200. And that's the big lens, the big zoom lens, 2.8. And it is one of my favorite lenses, and I use it all of the time for wedding ceremonies. I find that I don't use it a whole lot of the time in other locations. That it's not just a lens that stays on my camera all day, that I'm usually on a 50 or an 85. And this year, looking at my calendar, I don't have a lot of big weddings. I don't have any weddings that have more than 50 guests right now. So my gear has changed because of that. If you are somebody that's in a place that is a lot more open for business right now, and you are having those 200, 300, 500 person weddings again, I would definitely include a 70 to 200, 2.8 if you can. F4 is also great as well if you don't want to afford it, or if you think that you're not going to be using it as much. You can also rent any lenses that you want. If you're an NPS member, at least in Canada here, you can actually just ask and they'll just send you stuff, they'll loan you things. And NPS is, I believe it's free in Canada. I don't know what it is in the States or other countries, but it's really, really awesome. Nikon Professional Services, I know Canon has CPS, Canon Professional Services. Sony has, I don't know what theirs is called, but I feel like there's ways that if you talk directly with the reps and the manufacturers locally in your country, there probably are possibilities to loan some gear from them. If not, there's a number of companies on the internet that will loan you gear. They'll just send you stuff in a Pelican case. It'll show up at your door. You use it for the weekend and send it back. A lot more cost effective than buying something, especially if you're looking at a wedding season that maybe is a little bit lighter, or if there's like maybe 2 or 3 weddings that you think you'll only need something like that for. Definitely consider renting it is what I did. And then also speaking maybe to the mirrorless side of things, 7200, the ones that are for Nikon and Canon and Sony that are just the native mounts, they are amazing. They're really fantastic lenses. I would say that I enjoy the Canon, the RF one the best, the 7200 2.8, because it's very compact. I very much enjoy the design of that. But you don't need one that natively mounts, that if it's something you're not going to be using all the time, by all means, go through the adapter, save some money, get that Tamron 70-200. The G2 is really great. That would be the one that I would probably be looking at. But again, for me, in the scope of this video, my equipment gear list for this year, it is not part of my equipment this year. First up though, I guess I have, I'm gonna call this my main lens. So this is the new, it's so heavy. I don't know if I'll be using this the entire year. This is the Nikon 50mm f1.2, and it's amazing. It's the best 50 by so far that I've ever used. And the problem is that it's just a little bit bigger and a little bit heavier. As a main lens, I do want the quality that comes from it, but the 51.8, which is a lot smaller, a lot more lightweight, and a heck of a lot less expensive, comes so close in pretty much every situation that I don't know if I need this yet. So this is the one piece of gear that may or may not change. I might even make a video. Maybe I'll bug my friend Liam, who shoots the 51.8 a lot. Maybe we'll go out and we'll try to do a thing together to test these directly against one another in the field. I haven't made my mind up with it. It is such an amazing lens. Like it's really, really nice, but on a wedding day, I think that the 51.8 might be a better option, especially if price point is a consideration. To speak to the camera bodies, I have a weird multi-system kit this year. Usually I've never been on the same camera body, so I've never had two, I guess a couple weddings last year. I shot the R6, I had two R6s, and that was the first time ever that I had the same camera body. Usually I have something like a Nikon D850 and a D750. This year I have a Nikon Z6 II, and it does everything that I could ever want from it. Hybrid photo video coverage wise, it makes it so easy with the photo video little slider on the back here. I found this to be the best hybrid coverage camera, so doing photos and videos at the same time. It just switches so fast that I can take a number of raw photos, switch to video, and instantly be recording. You'll know that on a lot of other camera systems that it's just not that fast to change, or there's like weird things. So to shoot hybrid on this R6, they capped it so you have to actually spin the wheel to get into video mode. So you can set it up to be like C3 as your photography settings, but you have to physically move this. And I don't like the idea of moving an infinite spin dial to go between photo and video. Like couples coming down me at the end of the wedding, I'm taking photos, and I have to make sure that like if I screw that up, I'm like, uh-oh, like where am I at? Okay, back to video. And I would rather just have it on one little switch here. I'm hoping that at some point, so you can see on top of this that there is just like this little record button up there. But if you're in photo mode and you hit that record button, at least as of right now, you just go into automatic video mode, which is, it'll work in a pinch, but it decides everything for you. So if it wants to shoot at f16 and just be like, yeah, everything's in focus, like welcome to shooting a GoPro, that it'll just kind of do that based on whatever it's metering the scene to be. So that's why I don't really love that I have to actually switch the dial. For this Nikon Z6 II, it's very, very easy, very, very fast. And it seems like, I don't know if they've accidentally paid attention to that, but I feel like Nikon has always led the way in regards to how fast cameras can switch between photo and video mode. The Nikon Z6 II is 24 megapixels. The R6, I believe, is 20.4, something like that. Both of them totally fine. I've also, a couple of days ago, I shot, this is a Sony, I guess we got four systems in the house today. This is a Sony FX3, and I shot a wedding, at least as a second shooter for Lindsay, with it, 12 megapixels, so it's the same interior, the same insides as the A7S III, which is a 12 megapixel RAW file. And I went in being like, there's no way a 12 megapixel file is gonna be good enough for like human faces and everything. And after shooting the day, I was like, yeah, it's pretty good, especially with the upscaling software that Adobe has now. It's good enough, I would say, that I would be happy to shoot an A7S III as a photo and video camera on a wedding day as of now. But ideally, 24 megapixels, 20 megapixels, a little more in the ballpark of what you'd want. One great thing that Nikon does that Canon does not do, Sony doesn't do it, I don't know if Fuji does it, I don't think Fuji does it, but you can do medium raw mode in here. So basically if you're shooting, say for instance, you have a D850 that's a 45 plus megapixel or a Z7 II that's above 40 megapixels, you can shoot that mid-size RAW file, which is like that 24 megapixel file, and you can kind of downsize your camera that way. With the other systems, you can't, so that's another hidden benefit to this guy here. That said, the autofocus is really good now, but it is not as good as this Canon R6, especially when you get really, really dark inside weddings. Sony, Canon really leading the way there. The Nikon Z6 II helps me make better work pretty much in every other situation that I can find myself in, but the autofocus and the low light autofocus specifically is the reason that I kind of have this with me as well. The other hidden lens that I don't have is an 85, so the 85 f2. I keep that in my bag as a backup, so in case for some reason something happens to this, that I can just switch my entire system over to here. Super important to have backups and to have even a third tier of backup if you can. I kind of do this with my second photographers, that I know that I have a second photographer that has at least 2 cameras with them, and then I have 2 cameras, sometimes 3 cameras with me, just to make sure if anything happens that I can finish off the wedding day. So camera bodies, Nikon Z6 II, Canon R6. One of the things that you might be thinking is like, how do you match these color profiles in post-production? And honestly, with the presets, if you're a member, you have access to all my presets. I find that when I run presets on files, they're close enough. I think in like, I don't know, in audio, it's like kind of like the glue compressor. I feel like my presets kind of work as that glue compressor that make files look pretty similar to themselves, that you're not gonna be looking at one and be like, why is this so like pink and weird and magenta? That it's close enough in a lot of cases, just like with that one single click. So I just synchronize it across, and usually it's pretty good. If you are discovering that you're having problems and you're shooting two different camera systems, or even maybe two systems within like Nikon digital SLR and maybe a Nikon mirrorless camera, if you're noticing there's issues, you can build profiles for your cameras. So on import, it just makes them look a lot more similar. But I haven't discovered the need for that shooting two very different camera systems. So my main camera is a Nikon Z6 II. The second camera is my R6, and on that R6 I have the 35mm. I guess it's 1.8 STM. And the thing that I like about it is that it's small. That I would say that this is probably my favorite lens for the Canon R system. That I could go to a wedding day just with this kit, and you can do full photography coverage. I can do a full wedding day video with this. It has IS in the lens and also the body, so it's very stable. Handheld, you don't need a gimbal, you don't need a tripod. I can do a lot with this. I could film, actually, we kind of did. We've done a lot of video coverage that are kind of full standalone films and commercial work with just this single kit. And the 35 is just absolutely fantastic. The 85 is very similar to it. And I've used it a little bit. I haven't really gotten super deep into it, but the 35 we've used a lot and we absolutely love it. I think it's important to have a main lens on your main camera body. So something like this 50mm that just stays on that main camera all day, the lens that you like, that you've invested in, that you want to kind of set the tone for all of the work that's within the wedding gallery. And then on your second camera to have something that's a little bit wider. I find that 35 is totally fine for any wedding day environments that I put myself in. Maybe you want something that's like extremely wider, and you kind of have, at least the way that I think of it, is that I want to put everything, one thing I don't have here, Everyday Messenger that I have here, it's the new one, and it fits all of the mirrorless stuff that I have very, very well. This fits no problem in it. If you're looking at getting an even wider lens, I would say going with a wider prime keeps the footprint down a little bit. If you're looking at the Canon RF, the 15 to 35, one, it's gonna be like a 6-month wait before you can get one because lenses and camera bodies are very difficult to find these days for some reason. And two, it's gonna add another like this much, like kilogram or whatever this lens is to your bag. And I like to carry all my stuff with me. I don't want the rolling case. I feel like I like to photograph in between scenes. So if I'm leaving the church and the couple's there, I want to be like ready to go and take photos. If my hands are on rolling cases, all of a sudden I'm missing moments that I like to have, especially as part of the video day, that I can just run out and just like frame a shot and they just walk through it. Is a lot easier than me like just trying to carry everything or hiring an assistant to come with me just to bring gear. I feel like there's also the possibility that that's how things might get lost or misplaced, or if you're in a park somewhere that something might be stolen, they're going to see that as more of an opportunity. With everything just kind of on me, I feel a lot more comfortable. With just these two lenses, the 50mm and the 35, I would be totally happy to photograph any wedding day that I have coming up this year. You might notice that another lens is on this camera. This is the 24 to 70. This is my favorite lens for the entire Z series. And it is a 2.8. And every image that comes off of this just feels really, really nice. You can't quantify it, you can't explain it. All of the images feel really, really nice. So I will bring this as just kind of a lens to have on the wedding day if I find that I am in a getting ready location that maybe the 50 is just a little bit too long, that I need to be able to get more variety of shots and I'm in a very small and tight environment. The other thing that 24 to 70 can do is give you a lot of variety in the video edit. For actually shooting the entire day with it, I feel like I'm never really happy with a full wedding gallery if I shoot just with a 24 to 70. I feel like none of the images have as much impact as like those shots that really go off with this lens, the 1.2. Like they just have a feeling that you just, they feel amazing. I find that, well, everything looks pretty good coming off this 24 to 70. Nothing quite approaches even the 51.8. When you're getting those really key sunset shots, like it's just so nice to have that lens. It's a little less depth of field, a little more kind of romantic feeling overall. The low light performance of these cameras is getting so good that I almost don't even need this anymore. So I guess we'll talk more about this in the 30 days of videos. I will be doing one on off-camera flash. If I walk into a room and the quality of light is good, that everybody looks good, it's just very, very dark, I have no problem. I would probably be on the Canon R6 at that time, maybe with the 85 f2. I have no problem running in that environment that is a little bit dark with a camera at a high ISO before adding flash. I feel like when I add flash, at least, especially like looking at this year's smaller weddings, to add off-camera flash becomes like very much like people notice that, and it becomes very annoying, especially if you're doing lots of frames during a speech or during a first dance, if it's just like going off nonstop. I would way rather be shooting just with ambient light if possible, as long as the quality of light is there. If you walk into a room and rather than like nice white reflective surfaces, it's just like dirty pot lights that are just like casting crazy shadows on people, that's when you like 100% do need to come in with a flash of some sort. I use this on camera until I absolutely can't anymore. And then at that point I move it off camera. So this is the V1, the Godox V1C. So that is for Canon. And this is the controller for it. This is the X2TC. So as you can see, my wedding reception kit definitely goes more towards the Canon R6 side of things. You can definitely get away shooting this, no problem, but I just find that it's a little bit easier in most circumstances to be on this. So that's why my flashes, you buy the controller based on whether it's Canon, Nikon, Fuji, Sony, Olympus, maybe. I don't know if they do Olympus. Maybe they do. I don't know. And any of the controllers I have found to be totally fine for the Godox system. The V1 is my favorite flash. The AD, the little small AD, is also a great off-camera light. So I would have this as kind of a main speed light, and then you can go to that if you want something. It's very, very small. One of the things, and maybe my only criticism, the only thing that I want, is that somewhere on here you have this like beautiful USB-C port, and you can't charge the battery through that. You actually have to pull the battery out and put it in a charger. I'm hoping whatever they do next, they know that that's like, that they have to include the way to just charge it actually in the device. So I hope that that comes next. For now, you got to pop the battery out, but I would say if you are going beyond like half of the battery in a day, like even if you see one of the bars of the, I don't know if it's 3 or 4, if you see one of them disappear on a wedding day, probably use that flash a significant portion of the day, because these batteries last for such a long time. And also the refresh time on them is so incredibly quick that even if you're doing like 1-to-1 pops, or I would say most of the time I'm maybe maximum 1/4 power. If you're at 1/4 power, you can just infinitely fire this as much as you want. Again, keep in mind that like you don't want to be just disrupting the entire day, especially at a smaller wedding with an off-camera flash. But if you need to do it, if you absolutely need to do it, just be aware of that there's a light going off that everyone sees. Even if your camera, as the flash goes off, you get blackout, you might not be seeing the flash as annoying as it is in real life. So just something to be aware of. But this is it. This is my kit. I would call this a pretty minimal kit. I would say that I don't even need this 24-70, that it's nice to have, but it's not required by any means. And then having a backup flash as well, you can really use anything, I would say, as kind of a backup flash, as long as it still fires and the batteries aren't corroded inside it. Maybe check it every now and then if it's not a flash you use often, to make sure everything's still good, or switch out the batteries, or maybe don't even put batteries in it, so that you just kind of put those in if you do absolutely need it. That's my kit for this year. If you're interested in getting the LUTs, the video LUTs, they came out yesterday on the member site. Tomorrow, presets for your photography, specifically for wedding photography presets, 2021. Now, a little bit more towards mirrorless cameras. Presets in the past for me, they absolutely work with mirrorless cameras, but they have been designed more off of digital SLR profiles, the color profiles. So now things moving a little bit towards the mirrorless side of things. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. And if you like this video, please click the like button. I don't actually know what it does. It probably does something, but I would appreciate it, at least to show that you like this video. Thank you for watching. Things got weird. I'll see you again 2 days from now on YouTube, and tomorrow for presets in the member site, and then Friday, 9 a.m. for the live stream Q&A if you're a member. That link will go out to you probably Friday morning, like 8 a.m. You'll get an email. So make sure that the emails from the member site, that you've at least received one in the past. I send them out every day now. So if you've been receiving those emails, you will get the link. But I'll also put a link to it on the member site as well, in case you don't get that email for whatever reason. That's all. See you again another time.